not just on my birthday week, but just a lot of times I don't know, sometimes I like to reminisce even on parts of my life that weren't so pleasant. And so I'm actually here in Southwest Philadelphia on a street called Paxson Street, which is off of Chester Avenue. For those of you that are from Philly, I used to live here. Born and raised in Boston, moved to Houston when I was about 6 or so. Lived in Houston for about 2 years, give or take, and then my mom and I moved briefly to Philadelphia. We lived here for a year. It was a pretty rough year. I'm gonna keep it totally official. And we lived on this block because in Philadelphia the row houses look a lot alike in a lot of different parts of the city, and this being one of them. I don't remember which house, but I know it was this block. So I'm going to take you on a little tour of my old neighborhood in Southwest Philadelphia, here on Paxson Street. So this is the block, although I cannot remember for the life of me which house it was. I know that it was one of these houses on this side of the street. I kind of feel like it might have even been one of these houses on this end of the block. The block isn't that long, but the houses all look similar in construction. The only difference basically is the paint. And I was about 8 years old, so obviously I have no idea which one of these houses it was. But I do remember walking home from school and coming up this side of the block. So it was definitely this side of the block. And we lived here for a couple of months, I guess, probably. It might have been this one. I don't know. They all look the same. All look the same. I mean, if it was this one, obviously it was occupied when we lived here, but that would have been like the year 1980. Anyway, we went from this block and moved after we stayed here for a couple of months. We moved right around the corner to a rooming house on Chester Avenue. So I'm going to show you that in a second. So yes, from Paxson Street, we basically moved to this block, which is on Chester Avenue. These, again, I don't remember exactly which house. And of course, there's a a space where about two different row houses once stood. But it was somewhere along this block. Again, I want to say mid-block, but I don't remember. So we moved from this street, this block here on Paxson, was our first stop when we moved here from Houston, to this block. And these are larger homes, as you can see. But we lived in a rooming house. I feel like it was one of these in the middle. I don't know. I just remember it was a rooming house. A rooming house, for those of you who don't know, is, where a house where people just live in different rooms. So it was divided up to how many different families, I don't remember. I couldn't tell you. But this was definitely probably, again, this block here, this group here of houses. Again, it might have been that empty space. I don't know, but it was somewhere over here. And I can tell you, no shade, Philly, but this block don't look no different, no better than it did in 1980. With the exception of this, though. Definitely weren't no white folks on Chester Avenue when I lived around here. Gentrification. So I went to a school called Comegys in Kinsessing. I always get confused. Not Kensington. That's a different neighborhood in Philadelphia. Kinsessing Park, which is this park here. As you can see, they have bars, of course, but they have a tennis court, which I'm pretty sure they didn't have when I lived there. I don't know, basketball court, and the Kinsessing. You know what? Just because I don't want to violate and mispronounce. Kinsessing Library. So this is a library where I used to go to get some books, and I probably still owe the Free Library of Philadelphia. That's what they call the library system here. The Free Library of Philadelphia, the Kinsessing branch. I can only imagine how much I still owe these people from books that I borrowed and never returned. in 1980. Hey, I'm sure they were good books, and I'm sure I made good use out of them. One more part of the tour that I want to make. I know you guys don't really care, but just pretend like it. I'm going to go to my old elementary school, Comegys, which I'll tell you about that when we get over there. So, funny story: the school that I went to in Houston before coming to Philadelphia was a beautiful suburban school with parks and trees and outdoor atriums. It was gorgeous. And then somehow we ended up enrolling at the B.B. Comegys Public School. And I remember my mother, when she enrolled me into this school, we walked up these stairs. I remember this like it was yesterday. And, the school I had just came from out in the suburbs of Houston and A-Leaf were beautiful. And this school, as you can see, is pretty unremarkable. I mean, all the lovely graffiti on these walls that you see now, working towards excellence and all this other stuff, that didn't exist then. And I just remember saying to my mother as we walked through these doors, up these stairs, up these very stairs, little 8-year-old me said before we walked in the door, "Mommy, why are there bars on the windows?" I couldn't understand why my new school looked like a damn jail. However, I would later find out, because when I first walked into the classroom, I distinctly remember all of my classmates jumping up and down like monkeys on the damn tables and chairs. And I assumed at that point that at Comegys, the bars on the windows were not to keep people from breaking in. They were to keep the students from breaking out. But we stayed in Philadelphia for less than a year, if I remember correctly. And basically, if I'm going to be totally honest, it was rough. It was the poverty was bad, rough. And Mom had enough after almost a year. And we moved back to Boston, where I would live until 1996, when I moved as an adult to New York. And the rest, as they say, is history. Next year will make 30 years since I moved to New York City. And it's been an adventure, but I wouldn't change it. Anyway, so long, Southwest Philadelphia. Thanks for the memories, and glad we got the hell out of here.